today if it offends anyone, because we're going to try to do the show pretty much as we usually do the show. But I'll admit up front, I'm still shook up by what happened last night to Damar Hamlin. In fact, I'm still wrecked.
Yeah,
in fact,
I don't believe him.
I'm not sure.
I don't want to hear him. Yeah, it reeks of Kyle Rittenhouse, you know, and the sniffing and all of that, because you got your ass handed to you last night for putting the game before a person's life, and then with the ellipsis, which suddenly seems irrelevant, didn't register with most people, and most people don't like you anyway. So you could have said nothing. You didn't have to say anything, Skip Bayless. Could have kept your mouth closed. And as a result, Shannon Sharpe was not on the show today. So, and if I was Shannon Sharpe, I wouldn't sit across from that mediocre, tiny, non-athletic person talking about athletes and what athletes should and should not be doing, because he's unqualified. He's unqualified to sit across from Shannon Sharpe. I wouldn't even show up ever. Period. You wouldn't, period. Okay? That's how strongly I feel about it. That said, let me bring in somebody who could talk about it, because he actually literally played defense for the Buffalo Bills. He did that, put his body on the line, and now he's out there doing God's work with cannabis. Let me welcome the one and only Dr. Herve Damas. Hello.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. I'm sorry, I didn't say Happy New Year to you. I'm bothered. I'm bothered by us today because, you know, let's put the NFL and all that. The NFL is going to NFL. But what we do, we got control over. Just like right now, we're holding the fort in the House. 212 just voted again for Hakeem Jeffries, and Kevin McCarthy still didn't get the number of votes. Jim Jordan got even more votes this time. Yeah, this is what unity looks like, and it's Kwanzaa season. Let's go. Dr. Damas, first of all, you played for the Bills, which is the same team that Damar Hamlin got injured last night on. Where were you? I know you still watch, even though I got feelings about that, but talk to me about what your thoughts are.
I was home. I actually was not watching. I don't watch pro football that much. So I got a lot of issues with things that they've done. And I think we've talked about some of the stuff with the concussion stuff and some of the race norming things that they've done. A lot of things, there's a point where, you know, the taste is just too much bitterness in it. Right? So I wasn't watching the game, but my phone started blowing up. I was doing some other work. I went to check my phone, and it's all these people texting me like, "Oh my God, what happened?" So then I turned it on, and I was getting the information from the broadcast. And I remember the first thing I heard was they've told the teams they have 5 minutes to warm up to play again. So I remember that was the first thing. And I was kind of like, okay, what happened? I still didn't know what happened, but we've been so desensitized to people getting severely injured on the football field that, you know, them pausing a game because of some catastrophic injury is not, you know, spinal cord injuries and those things like that. We kind of accept that this is a part of football. We've come to find out this was a cardiovascular event. And then I was like, they want these guys to play. This is a whole nother level of trauma. It actually, you know, made me flash back to when I got hurt. Actually, it's the first time I thought about you know, the day I got hurt and everything that happened during that event. It was literally the first time that happened in 1995, 96. So it brought me back to that. And so talked to some of my boys about it today. And a lot of people are kind of, you know, shook up, you know, a lot of these not feeling very good.
This is such a layered, complex conversation. To me, it's real simple. But I dance in the grays, but I live in the black and white. You know, like I'm very absolute about the things that I know until I get more information. And then I'm willing to bend and expand the things that I know and change my mind, because knowledge and information should do that, right? We should be on a constant quest to challenge the things that we think we know. What is it that we know about the NFL? Let me just correct myself, because we're going to do that in real time. Kenny Stabler did not kill himself. I apologize for that bad information. He died from colon cancer. Thank you. And I didn't read my sheet properly. It was Andre Waters, who died by suicide, Junior Seau, and Dave Durson, who died by suicide. For you, on that field that day in the 90s when you were injured, tell me what happened on that play.
During practice, it's weird thing. Because for me, one of the things that I knew was a gift of mine was that I was pretty smart, right? So I could figure out what they were running, right? So it was like, you're running this stuff a few times, I already know what you're gonna do. I already know everything that's coming. So the Bills used to run this counter trade play with Herve Damas. He takes a false step one direction, he comes back. I already knew it was coming, right? But I'd hurt my ankle a week before that, a really bad ankle injury, but I'm a rookie. So I don't have time to be like hanging out on the sideline. There's pressure. You're like, you don't make the club. There's a saying, you don't make the club sitting in the tub. Like you got to get out there. So saw the plane coming, couldn't put any pressure on my left leg, and took all the force pulling guard, right knee planted, and I heard like a tear, like somebody tearing like denim, like, and it didn't hurt. But I just noticed that my foot was laying like perpendicular to my body. It was like flat. And I was like, has my foot always been like that? And so the thing that I remembered last night was the flashback. When I got up, I noticed that the team was far away from me. And I remember the thought in my mind, like, why are they so far away from me? And then it all came back to me, because in football, you get injured during practice, during drills, you don't stop the drill. You move it up. Like you move like,
My God, like you just step over the dead body.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So coach will say, blow the whistle, beep, move the drill up 10 yards, move it up 15 yards, right? So they move it away from you. You stay on the ground wherever you are, and then the athletic training staff gets over to you. So you become desensitized over time to other people's suffering. That is just it. That was the first time that had happened to me, right? So I'm standing there, and last night I was like, oh, wow, that's right. They had moved the drill on me. Like I was the guy that they were like, yeah, forget about him. He's no longer useful, right? He's hurt. Move the drill. And that happens in the game. So during the game, that's how you play. Somebody has a neck injury. Somebody has a severe injury, right? If you guys wonder why guys can just go around, and because you're conditioned to do that. You see somebody injured, you can hear them yelling, you can hear the sounds and all that stuff. Move it up. Next play, next man up. Last night was different because it's the first time any of us had seen someone receive CPR and the defibrillator on a football field. And that's crazy when you think about it, because we have been okay with seeing people immobilized, paralyzed, waiting for the thumbs up kind of thing, right? Thoughts and prayers. Like we're pretty much okay with that, right? Somebody could lose all function, mobility for the rest of their lives because of football. We've been okay with that. Last night was the first time somebody, like we were all like, oh my God, there's imminent death. Like that's a real thing. And here that you would ask that someone had the thought that we're just gonna keep playing, like we're gonna move the drill up, right?
Someone just reminded me on Twitter that it was the players and the coaches that refused to go back out, not the NFL, that called the game. They couldn't play a game without the players, which is, I've always suspected that the players have more power than they show. If you decide you're not going to play, one game, all the players, the NFL would have to change a lot of things, right? Whether we're talking about pensions, whether we're talking about insurance policies, whether we're talking about higher pay, 75% of that league looks like you.
The pay structure, the contract track structure makes our union, the NFL unit, one of the weakest unions in professional sports. There's no guaranteed contracts, and the kind of interchangeability or the disposable nature of the talent, the way that they just like take pieces and plug us in and out, you have a lot of turnover. Careers are shorter. So a couple of times, if the one big time that the guys had a chance to do something big was in the 80s, the first strike. And you had all these guys cross the picket line. Remember they had the SCAD players? So
yes.
Once that happened, that union lost basically its bargaining power, because you didn't see that happen with the baseball players when they went on strike. They stuck it to the owners. The basketball players didn't cross the picket lines. Hockey's had labor disputes and the players don't cross, but the football players did. So once that had been established as something that would happen with them, the players lost a lot of, bargaining power to get to a point where they can exert the kind of influence on the league the way that like the NBA players union can, or Major League Baseball, which is like the gold standard. So a lot of players know that NFL is not for long, right? So you're not going to be here for a long time.
That's what it stands for. NFL,
for not for long, right? And so you move. There's a certain amount of understanding that, hey, you're grateful to be in this circumstance. You're happy to be here, right? You have an opportunity to make more money than you would ever make, or your family can ever make. So shut your mouth, toe the line, stay in your place. When I heard the last, so there is a bit of that plantation mechanism in there. Stay in your place, shut your mouth, do as you're told, don't cause any problems, and you could last a little bit. You could make it a little. You don't want to get the reputation of being a malcontent, right? Because you're very disposable. So
unless you're Antonio Brown and somehow
so you've got to be
you got to be
an electric talent. You got to be an electric talent to get some of that stuff, right? You got to be, but those guys are few and far between. Everyone else, they'll kick you to the curb. You know what? I remember when I was playing, I think the Million Man March was taking place during that time. And there was like talk amongst the black players in the locker room, like, you guys gonna like skip practice and go down there? Everybody's like, are you crazy? And wow. We were like, this seminal moment in our existence as black men, this thing is happening. And pretty much everyone in the locker room was like, no, bro, like that is not our role. Like you show up to practice today, shut your mouth and don't get involved in all of that stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, wow. It's not really a place for that.
Dr. Damas is here. Can you stick around? I want to have a bunch of other questions to ask you. Let me take Patricia. A lot of y'all been holding on. We're going to take more calls too when we come back. Patricia in Florida, welcome to the Karen Hunter Show. Thank you for holding.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for your show. I've learned so much. Appreciate everything. My husband is a former NFL player. I played in the 70s and the 80s. Recently heard about, let me answer your question first. If he had children that were able to play football today, he would not let them play because of what's presenting itself with him physically now and what he's known for quite some time.
I'm looking at the clock. We have hard break at the top. Hold on a second because I have questions for you as well. 866-801-8255. Dr. Damas is here. Herve Damas, Sac Passe, my brother. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation. And I just want us to think more deeply about the choices we make, the things we celebrate, the things we put our attention to. Are they freeing us or are they doing the opposite? It's the Karen Hunter Show. We'll be right back.
Your freedom is shackles and chains to mine. And until I'm free, you are not free either.